Hello and welcome to Tabletopics with Bill. This video is a long overdue response. Maybe it's a little too late, I don't know, you be the judge. But I am going to counter Jacob Buds at XP to level 3 in his assertion that intelligence is dumb.
I know more than you.
Okay, so here's the scoop. I had a chance to meet Jake at Gen Con, and he's a nice guy, and his channel's way, way bigger than mine, and he has a devoted group of fans, and all of that is very deserved. Jake's a smart kid, and he's got all the right chemistry for everything that he does. But when I watched his video about intelligence being dumb, and I did watch it all the way through, I felt like I needed to respond. But there was a little voice inside of my head, one of many, which was like, no, Bill, don't do that. Don't respond, because whatever you say isn't gonna make a difference anyway. But then I kept thinking about how many thousands of people have seen that video, and it's not that Jake's wrong. This isn't a video response to argue with Jake. It's not like a hot take about how wrong he is, because towards the end of the video, Jake says that it's not so much that intelligence is dumb, it's that maybe we could do more with it. So here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to review what intelligence is and how it works and what it affects in 5th edition D&D. And then maybe share my own philosophy about how it could be or should be used. Okay, so first of all, if you're making a character and if you're playing in D&D and most of your adventuring involves like dungeon crawls and not a ton of role playing, then yeah, Jake is right. Intelligence is the least important thing. Think about it. Strength, obviously important for any melee sort of attacks, obviously important for athletics. Dexterity, enormously important. Has an impact on your ranged attacks, has an impact on your armor class, has an impact on a lot of really valuable sneaking around kind of skills. No-brainers. Wisdom, hugely important for divine casters, but also linked to perception, which is probably one of the most valuable, and used skills or proficiencies in the game, as well as insight, your ability to tell someone's intent and their motivations and whether or not they're telling the truth. So wisdom's important too. Charisma. It's directly linked to those spellcasters who use charisma for their primary attribute, and it's linked to the social skills, deception, persuasion, and intimidation, which, if they're not part of your campaign, they should be. So that leaves intelligence. And it brings us back around to Jake's original, assertion that in 5th edition, it's kind of the least of the important abilities, unless you're a wizard. Now, what I wanted to do is kind of offer you my own philosophy, which is this. Intelligence, as Jake pointed out, is dumb in this game. And it really isn't that useful unless you're a wizard because, and this is the big part, because most of you aren't using it enough. Yes, that's right, I said it. You're not playing the game right. Now you might be like, well, Bill, what do you know about playing the game? Everybody should play it the way they want to. Yeah, okay, sure, I buy into that kind of vanilla, approach towards gaming. But at the same time, I want you to really think. When was the last time you played D&D and your DM had you make history checks? When did history matter? How about religion? How about any of the knowledge-based proficiencies? Because if they didn't do that, then your DM, not the intelligence ability or anything associated with it, your DM is failing you. And if you're a DM who doesn't do that stuff, you really need to think about how do you use this better? So in my campaigns, I have people making knowledge checks all the time. I integrate it, I weave it into the fabric of the adventure and the storyline. I have it be valuable because I want people to understand that knowledge is valuable. A person with knowledge can unlock certain secrets. A person with knowledge can gain insights into situations that will help the whole party. So if the DM's not integrating those things into your game, then yeah, intelligence and the associated skills are probably pretty useless. Not so in my game. So again, I say, if you aren't using those things, you're dumb, not the design of the game. Let's explore further, shall we? If you're following along on your player's handbook, this is on page 177. Intelligence measures mental acuity, accuracy of recall, and the ability to reason. Just the first opening sentence gives us some very important information for how you can use intelligence better in your game. Accuracy of recall. How many times have your players not written down notes and then 2 adventures, 3 sessions, whatever later, you bring up something and they're like, oh, I kind of remember it, but what was it? What do you have them roll? Or do you let them roll? Well, what you should have them roll is intelligence. Now, if your whole party has like an 8 intelligence, maybe you guys will understand the value of having a higher intelligence because it'll give you a chance to recall specific information that you as a player didn't take notes on. And just, by the way, player tip, you should take notes. Intelligence checks. An intelligence check comes into play when you need to draw on logic, education, memory, or deductive reasoning. The Arcana, history, investigation, nature, and religion skills reflect aptitude in certain kinds of intelligence checks. So if you're saying to yourself right now, well, we don't really use those things very much, or like the wizard's the only person who uses Arcana. Well, again, that's because the DM's not taking advantage of these things. In my campaign world, I have a lot of religion checks because a lot of the mysteries around the world are based on the history within religion or the dogma or the beliefs, and that's an important part of the story. It's mind-boggling to me that people would think that intelligence is completely useless. It's not. Far from it. Arcana. Your intelligence Arcana check measures your ability to recall lore about spells, magic items, eldritch symbols, magical traditions, the planes of existence, and the inhabitants of those planes. Tell me how that couldn't be useful. I mean, come on. Every time you encounter something that's otherworldly, other-dimensionally, like magic items, like all that stuff is hugely valuable in a game. It would enrich your game as a DM to include more of that and to allow your players to really have a valuable knowledge. History. Your intelligence history check measures your ability to recall lore about historical events, legendary people, ancient kingdoms, past disputes, recent wars, and lost civilizations. I would include politics in that. So anytime that there's like politics going on between, different factions, that would be a history check as well. And again, that is huge for any party that's trying to find out more about a current situation or about a previous situation. They stumble across some ruins. They see old, pictographic writing on the ruins. That kind of thing is huge. Investigation. Now this might be, when I think of the knowledge-based things that are impacted by intelligence, investigation might be the most important one. So again, it blows my mind that people would discount intelligence when you have investigation, which is such a absolutely crucial adventuring skill. Like something that more than one person in the party should probably be decent at. When you look around for clues and make deductions based on those clues, you make an intelligence or investigation check. You might deduce the location of a hidden object, discern from the appearance of a wound what kind of weapon dealt it, or determine the weakest point in a tunnel that could cause it to collapse. Poring through ancient scrolls in search of a hidden fragment of knowledge might also call for an intelligence investigation check. I think of investigation not just in like Sherlock Holmes, but also in research, like poring over tomes and scrolls and going to a temple or a library to like go through their knowledge. That would also be covered under investigation. Nature. Your intelligence nature check measures your ability to recall lore about terrain, plants, and animals the weather, and natural cycles. Now, a clever DM could work this in very easily. Suppose that you've created an adventure where there's some very unnatural things going on in a specific region. The people investigating these strange things and disappearances and weird tracks that nobody can identify, you might be able to make that nature check to determine what is natural and what isn't, okay? And maybe you even have some NPCs who've been misled to think a certain thing is natural, like, oh, those paw prints, that's probably those, northern coyotes. And when in fact, your person with nature makes a successful check and you say, yes, but the northern coyotes don't have 6 pads on their paws. They only have 5 or, whatever. So you throw in some kind of things that allow, or plants. I mean, you have a strange grouping of alien, strange plants that don't belong in a certain area. How do your players know that? Well, you could just tell them, or maybe you reward somebody who bothered to take proficiency in nature with the opportunity to make that assessment, which allows them to uncover further information related to your adventure. Religion. This is one I use all the time. Your intelligence religion check measures your ability to recall lore about deities, rites and prayers, religious hierarchies, holy symbols, and the practices of secret cults. That is a massively valuable knowledge to have. Other intelligence checks. The DM might call for an intelligence check when you try to accomplish tasks like the following: communicate with a creature without using words, estimate the value of a precious item. So in previous editions of D&D, there was a skill called appraise, and that's what allowed you to appraise the value of gems, jewelry, magic items. Now it's an intelligence check. So again, I say, how could you not use that? It would seem to me that every adventure would require that. Pull together a disguise to pass as a city guard. Forge a document. Recall lore about a craft or trade. Win a game of skill. The classic chess game versus the powerful, devil or something. I don't know, but I mean. And then finally, spellcasting. Wizards use intelligence as their spellcasting ability, which helps determine the saving throw DCs of spells they cast. So, let's go back to Jake's video since this is a response. Intelligence isn't dumb. It's really important in a good game. And if you or your DM or your group isn't using intelligence enough, you're playing the game wrong. Or, maybe you're just not playing it up to its full potential. You have fun how you're going to have fun, but I'm telling you that if you forego intelligence, you're missing out. Because I think a rich storyline and rich campaign could involve one or more characters who have specific proficiencies in these knowledge-based skills and could add to so much of the game. And for a DM, what a great opportunity to make your game more than just killing crap and getting treasure. Create some mystery. Create some situations that have to be researched. Create some opportunities for characters to think, to make your game a little more cerebral and less about rolling fancy dice and deciding whether or not you hit or kill something. Towards the end of Jake's video, he came up with some interesting ideas, which were basically ways to make intelligence more valuable from a mechanical perspective. And among those, he included maybe for people with higher intelligence, they get bonus proficiencies or they get bonus languages. Now, I don't know if Jake knew this or not, but that actually existed in older versions of the game. And actually not just in D&D. I've seen that in many other role-playing games, fantasy-based and in other genres, where the higher your intelligence score, basically, the more skills, proficiencies, knowledges you had. Or in some games it was point-based, so you got extra points to spend or to insert into those kind of things. That's not a bad home-brewed idea, but I don't think it's necessary. A lot of times people want to complicate games to make them feel more realistic. But I think that based on what the game in 5th edition provides mechanically, you don't need to do any of those things. Postscript, if you wanted to integrate that, that's another opportunity for you to look at backgrounds, because there are quite a few backgrounds for players to choose from for their characters that give you additional proficiencies or even additional languages or abilities or tool proficiencies. And that is there in 5th edition, and it was never there in other editions, where the backgrounds had such a huge impact on helping to round out a character. So again, I don't agree with Jake about having to create new rules or even homebrewed rules to make intelligence more valuable. I think it's already valuable, and I think between the proficiencies linked to the intelligence ability score and backgrounds, I think you could build a character who is intelligent, who has more languages, who has more proficiencies, and who actually uses them, because that's what it's about. Playing a game that is rich, and not just a game where every character is built to kill as much shit as they can. So anyway, this is my long overdue video response to XP to Level 3's video about intelligence being dumb. I love you still, Jake. You're a good kid. And to all the rest of you guys, maybe this is something you already know and you already appreciate. Maybe it's something that is giving you something to think about, and that's cool too. So if you have any comments, you want to share interesting ways in which you have seen intelligence-based stuff being used in the game, or that you yourself from maybe a DM perspective have used it, please feel free to comment below. And as always, I ask you guys for your support, so please consider subscribing, liking the video, clicking on that notifications bell, and we'll see you for the next Tabletopics with Bill.